The Falklands, or Las Malvinas. Well, who actually, when it comes to the history, really does have right to ownership? The history goes back to 16th century. First Europeans that ever landed on those islands found nobody there. Literally nobody. There wasn't Argentinians living there, but the first actually recorded written evidence of people on the islands was a botanist who was there in 1690, who was an English guy who was recording the flora of the islands, looking around at the flowers and the trees and stuff. And then in 1794, a French ship landed there and set up a base. In 1795, a year later, an English ship from the Royal Navy landed there and set up another base on the island. So this is 1795. Eventually, through tussles and stuff, the French pissed off. So it was British from that time. Let's just think about Argentina for a moment. Just remember, this was 1795. Argentina wasn't decreed as a nation until 1816. So the Falklands were in British hands before Argentina existed as a concept. What about the distance? The Falklands to the nearest Argentinian coastline is 300 miles, and from the Falklands to Buenos Aires it is 1,979 kilometers, 1,230 miles. That's quite some distance, isn't it? It takes about 16 to 20 hours to get from the Falklands to Buenos Aires because of all the different flights and transfers that you need to get. The same distance, or the same distances, London to Edinburgh is 300 miles. That's the Falkland Islands to the nearest coastline. And 1,979 kilometers, or 1,230 miles to Buenos Aires. That's like London to a city in Romania. That's how far it is. And from my own personal experience, in 2007, I spent 6 months in South America. Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, Brazil, Argentina. Sorry, I said Brazil. It's Brazil. Shouldn't be speaking in a Spanish accent about Brazil. And I was in Patagonia. I was 3 months actually in Argentina. Absolutely stunning scenery. Nice people wherever you go. Just like all of South America. But when I was in Patagonia at the same latitude as the Falklands, my God, it is a almost hellish place. There is nothing down there, constantly horizontal rain and wind like I didn't actually believe was possible, the strength and the speed of the wind. We were actually camping, driving and camping around South America. We were in a tent in Patagonia one night, and the wind was so strong. It was an ex-military tent as well. It wasn't a flimsy Decathlon crappy tent that you get nowadays. A proper military tent with, you know, properly held down into the ground. And I did not sleep that particular night one moment because the wind was so violent that I thought, my God, we're going to get blown away. Even with two guys, big packs, holding the tent down and everything, big rucksacks, heavy stuff. I thought we were just going to get blown away into God knows where. And I was thinking, what the hell were they fighting for in the 80s? What was all that about? Who the hell wants to fight over whatever's down here? But Argentina did start it, didn't they? They did invade. It was their aggression that started that war. I mean, the Second World War, Germany did start it, didn't they? I mean, we can go into the history, the Versailles Treaty and blah, 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 a million criteria going into what happened, but ultimately the aggression of one country started that Second World War. Same as the Falklands War. And yes, Thatcher was, I think, in trouble electorally and needed a big spike. So maybe that had something to do with her decision to go down and get a bit tasty with Argentina down there. But we've all seen, not just Brits, the world has seen that Argentina in the World Cup final are very, very bad losers. I'm sorry, but turning your backs to the winning team when they have their moment of glory like you had 4 years beforehand is incredibly bad sportsmanship, which they had just displayed throughout the entire game when their player got sent off for that aggravated assault. And there was the Argentinian guy 50 meters away who just went down onto the floor pretending he'd been attacked as well. Messi, who previously had messianic status, put the ref pushing him towards that guy, cheating, trying to get the Spanish player sent off for scratching his lip while he spoke to him. I'm sorry, but they are bad losers. I've lived in Germany and there isn't that bad loser mentality with the Germans. They are actually still soul searching about what their forefathers did in the Second World War. So I'm not really into controversy and stirring it up, but just the history, the geography, and maybe the cultural aspect, the bad losers thing. I think maybe Argentina should, as Roy Keane says, cool their jets about the Falklands, or as they call it, Las Malvinas. I don't know, let me know, maybe I'm not being patriotic enough and I should be going harder on this. What do you think, Brits of the world? Should the Argentinians pack it in about going on about Las Malvinas? It's just a historical fact that Britain was a naval power and set up a world of commerce and trade through their naval tactics. And there's Gibraltar, there was Hong Kong, and a million other bases around the globe as stations, basically corner shops and supplies for the Royal Navy. And that's one thing of it. Yeah, maybe it should be given back like Hong Kong was given back, or was that a mistake? If you ask some Hong Kong people living there, or people who have had to get out of Hong Kong, they might think it was a mistake giving back that territory to China. So, should the English government give the Falklands back in the recent election in the Falklands, 98% of the current residents voted to remain British. So, should we take their considerations first and foremost? Yeah, but it all comes back to 1795, I think, is quite an important fact here. It was in British hands before Argentina even existed. Let me know what you think. Controversy, oh my God!